Hello, today's Chasing Husband Funeral. The completed work is here. Like it, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Thank you. The main text begins, like Yuan Dynasty Emperor specializes in treating dog lovers. Those who have been dogs in relationships must know. When you hear the name Lu Rian, you should wake up. This time I started as Lu Rian's dog husband in our 3rd year of marriage. Her white moonlight returned from abroad. Her white moonlight abandoned her for his own career and disappeared without a trace years ago. She said she hated him, but a phone call from her white moonlight could call her over. My begging and pleading became a joke between them. She looked down on me and said, "You're just a dog I sponsored, you should stay at home and wag your tail obediently." But later she was ruined by her white moonlight. She begged me for financial support. I held my wine glass and looked down on her. "Lu miss, how about you demonstrate how to wag your tail?" On my and Lu Rian's 3rd wedding anniversary, I prepared a candlelit dinner specially. I opened a jewelry box and took out a delicate diamond necklace. I was about to put it on her. At this moment the waiter carrying a glass of wine walked by, accidentally spilled the wine on Lu Rian's white dress. Lu Rian is usually very patient, but when she heard the waiter's apology she panicked. Before I could say anything, Lu Rian scolded the waiter harshly, "You're so clumsy, can you afford to replace this dress? What do you think you are? How dare you break my wine? How dare you appear here? Get out of here, I don't want to see you again." The waiter lowered her head and didn't speak. Her face was red as blood and her white shirt was stained with wine stains which looked quite matching with Lu Rian's white dress. I held Lu Rian's hand and said, "Forget it." The students present were shocked by the scene. No one dared say a word until someone finally couldn't bear it anymore and advised her to stop drinking. But just as Lu Rian put down her wine cup she spat out a mouthful of blood. It was still Lu Rian's classmate Liang Tingcheng who carried her all the way to the hospital. I asked Lu Rian why she had such a strong reaction just now. Was she still in love with Liang Tingcheng? I said those words with a heavy heart. Lu Rian shook her head and said, "Gee, don't say nonsense. That's all in the past now. I only have you in my heart now." Liang Tingcheng had seen that my family had gone bankrupt and had said he wanted to break up with me without a second thought, leaving me alone in China. I curse him every time I see him. He would have lost his job at the very least. He said those words with tears welling up in his eyes. I knew that Lu Rian's family's company had encountered difficulties and I had been there with her, helping her bring the company back from the brink of collapse and grow it into its current size. Only we two knew the hardships we had gone through. I patted her head gently. "Be careful," Lu Rian shouted. A slim figure was blocking the entrance to our villa. I slammed on the brakes and a harsh screeching sound filled my ears. Almost at the same time Lu Rian ran out of the car and I watched her run to Liang Tingcheng and push him hard. Liang Tingcheng lost his balance and was about to fall to the ground while Lu Rian cursed him non-stop. She couldn't help reaching out to help him, but Liang Tingcheng hugged her tightly in his arms just as she stretched out her hand. They hugged each other tightly and Lu Rian's white dress with the wine stain on it looked like a rose blooming in the light of the street lamp. I got out of the car and called her, but General Lu General brought a man with her and said she wanted to replace me. I can't lose my job. My mother is still in the emergency room waiting for my paycheck to save her life. I had a feeling something was up, so I went to investigate. Sure enough, it was Lu Rian personally bringing on Liang Tingcheng for a job. He was smiling as he handed a document to Liang Tingcheng, but his hand was suddenly clamped by mine. Lu Rian's panic lasted only a second before being replaced by a smile. He casually summoned another person to handle the paperwork and pulled me into his office. "Where did you go last night?" Lu Rian looked calm, gently patting my clenched fist. "Gee boss, everything is taken care of. I've already explained things to Liang Tingcheng and he won't be bothering me anymore. Now we're just old classmates." But I only suspiciously looked at her. I moved her shoulder and made her face me. "Then why did you stay out all night last night and what's the situation now?" I noticed Lu Rian frowned slightly and break free from my grasp. "Liang Tingcheng got caught in the rain last night and had a high fever in the middle of the night. Since we're old classmates I couldn't just leave him alone. I was just at the hospital with him in case something happened. Nothing else, and today's events were a surprise for you. You've been working on a heart and lung respiration technology, haven't you? And you've been having trouble finding investors. Liang Tingcheng knows a lot of big bosses abroad and has good connections. I had him start as a secretary to get familiar with our work processes so it would be easier for him to bring in investors." Lu Rian answered all my questions logically and convincingly, making it hard to argue with her. It was a satisfactory resolution, but night after night. Lu Ruyan pushed me playfully, will you always be so soft-hearted? Rest assured I'll arrange for her to go to another department. By the time I arrived everyone had already mixed their efforts and enjoyed drinking and chatting. Lu Ruyan closely adhered to Liang Tingcheng. I don't know what Liang Tingcheng said to her, but Lu Ruyan was laughing uncontrollably when my phone rang. It's night time. Mr. G, please come back quickly. There was a problem with the cardiopulmonary breathing technique, so I greeted a colleague at the door and quickly rushed back to the company. My mother passed away due to pulmonary heart disease. This has always been a pain in my heart. After my mother passed away, my father remarried and brought a younger sister who is 2 years younger. Amidst a mix of sadness and anger, I broke away from my family and started my own business researching cardiopulmonary breathing technology. At that time I happened to meet Lu Ruyan, whose family had just gone bankrupt and everything was waiting to be revitalized. So she exhausted all her funds to support my career and I helped her save the company step by step, working together until now. Thinking of this, a warm feeling surged in my heart. Liang Tingcheng will only be a small episode in our marriage, and Lu Ruyan and I will continue to work hand in hand. When I hurriedly dealt with the company's affairs and rushed to the restaurant again, I couldn't find Lu Ruyan. Everyone was very happy, completely drunk, and couldn't remember when Lu Ruyan left. I'm going to ask the manager for it, and the surveillance footage is playing second by second. My heart gradually sank to the bottom, and when I left for the first time Lu Ruyan laughed into Liang Tingcheng's arms because of his joke. Then they took advantage of everyone raising their glasses and shamelessly kissed each other in the corner, kissing all the way out of the private room and riding in a taxi speeding away. I took out my phone with trembling hands and tried several times before dialing the right number. I almost gritted my teeth and squeezed out a word for the private detective. The private detective was very efficient and soon sent me the hotel name and room number. I felt that the hotel followed the room number and stood outside the door. I even took a deep breath and locked the door, and the sound inside stopped. I could hear a soft scolding from inside. Liang Tingcheng was only wrapped in a towel when he opened the door. Seeing that I was in a hurry, he wanted to close it. I firmly blocked the door and waved my hand to punch him. Liang Tingcheng was beaten and fell to the ground, and Lu Ruyan let out a scream. Seeing that it was me, she quickly put on her clothes and came over. I rode on Liang Tingcheng and mechanically hit him with my fists. Lu Ruyan cried and begged me to stop. She was repeatedly pushed to the ground by me and crawled over again. In order to protect Liang Tingcheng, she called the police. When I was taken away by the police, I didn't give up asking him. So you still love him even if you lie to me? You still want to stuff him into the company and watch him every day, right? Lu Ruyan supported Liang Tingcheng and coldly said to me, "Gee, Bo, he's not someone you can move. Don't drink or eat, you're just a dog I sponsor. Just stay at home and wag your tail obediently." After all, it was a scandal and Lu Ruyan didn't want to make it too big. In the end, I was only detained for 3 days before being released. When I was released from the detention center, Lu Ruyan came to pick me up. He immediately reddened his eyes when he saw my disheveled appearance. "Jibwa, do we have to make this mess? Let me guess if you're afraid that divorcing me will take away half of the company's assets, or if it's because you and that useless guy Liang Tingcheng can't handle the company's affairs well." Upon hearing my words, Lu Ruyan couldn't help but shed 2 tears and tightly grasped me. "Jibwa, what are you talking about? We can't divorce, I can explain it. I did something wrong. But I really still love you, Jibwa. Don't you love me anymore?" I spread apart Lu Ruyan one by one, tightly gripping my fingers. "I mistakenly believed you. But it will never happen again in this lifetime." When he returned to the company, Liang Tingcheng was crossing his legs in my office, munching on sunflower seeds. His facial injury had not yet healed and his secret was numb. However, he still had thoughts of my things. Perhaps it was the shock I gave him that was too strong. Liang Tingcheng saw my instinct and immediately stood up to the side, but I ignored him. Organizing information on cardiopulmonary respiratory techniques on the desk. Liang Tingcheng also noticed his recent behavior and felt embarrassed. He began to provoke me. "Ji Bo, don't be complacent. This office will eventually belong to me. Yan Yan, she only has me in her heart. I advise you to leave early if you are sensible." This fool, did he really think that Lu Ruyan could turn the tide just because he had squeezed the dangerous Lu family before going abroad? But he doesn't need to know. I will let him daydream for a few more days. I sorted out the information and watched him jokingly speak, but Yan Yan still begged me not to divorce. She said you were just a mistake he made and encountered Ye when he went downstairs. I told him about my plan to leave. She is very smart and hardworking and I have grown up with her all the way. Ji Gu, thank you for nurturing her for so long. I smiled at her and said goodbye to the martial arts world. Night after night she nodded with tears in her eyes and suddenly looked up at me. But brother Ji, what about our cardiopulmonary breathing technology? I was hoping he could save my mother's life. This is a reminder that I am currently in a critical stage of research and development and I cannot stop just because of Lu Ruiyan's reasons. However, I cannot stay at Lu's anymore. I gritted my teeth and had already made a decision in my heart. Then I asked Ye, is there an opportunity to switch jobs here? Do you want to consider it? When I got home I had been doing psychological construction for a long time and finally dialed that phone number. Yin Shuang took the phone from the other side and paused for a long time before stuttering. Are you Yin Jibwa? Brother Yin Shuang paused for a long time before speaking again, her voice already tinged with tears. Brother, I'm really not an illegitimate daughter. We have no blood relationship, so don't be angry with Dad. You can go home, I can't even lead the company. Yin's family is involved in various industries and has a wide range of routes, making it complex and intricate. It's really difficult for Yin Shuang to lead such a big company. Actually, I knew a year ago that Yin Shuang was not an illegitimate daughter. But back then all my focus was on Lu Ruiyan and now it doesn't matter anymore. The fact that my father married someone else so quickly is still a thorn in my heart, but I have to pull out this thorn now. In the end, the only one I can rely on is Yin Shi. Xiaoshuang, I will come back to help you, but please do me a favor first. I need the group to establish a branch in City A to conduct research in the pharmaceutical field. After discussing with Yin Shuang, it was already dark. I had planned to simply pack my things and leave, but as soon as I opened my suitcase and started packing, Lu Ruiyan came back and threw herself frantically onto my suitcase. Don't let me put anything inside. Jibwa, are you joking? How could you really leave me, otherwise? How can I reserve a spot for your Liang Tingcheng if I don't leave? Lu Ruiyan thought to herself for a long time and spoke in a hoarse voice. Ji Bo, are you disappointed with me? I didn't know how to answer for a moment. Her face was already thick enough to be beyond my reach. Jibwa, I've really figured it out these days. My liking for Liang Tingcheng is just a habit. I just can't let go of him for a moment. Jibwa, can you please not leave me? I want to be with you all the time, okay? I have really changed. Let's live our lives well, just like before. How happy we are. Her words only made me laugh, so I secretly recorded them and sent them to Liang Tingcheng. After a while Liang Tingcheng called me. Lu Ruiyan was anxiously packing up and about to leave. I jokingly sat on the sofa and stared at her. Lu Ruiyan, if you leave you won't see me when you come back. She hesitated in place and actually gritted her teeth to sit back next to me. Jibwa, do you think I really changed it? Lu Ruiyan doesn't go to work anymore. She stays at home all day, afraid that if she doesn't pay attention I won't be home when she gets home. I decided to spend time with her, remotely handling the affairs of the branch office at home, and also started to contact a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. This situation did not last for a few days. When the news came that Liang Tingcheng had swallowed sleeping pills, Lu Ruiyan finally made up her mind to leave me. Move out of that house and help me find a rental house near his house every night. Actually, I originally wanted to go to the hotel arranged by Yin Shuang for me, but Yi thought I had nowhere else to go and was busy helping me, so I didn't have the guts to refuse. It's just convenient to keep in touch with the night processing company at any time. I packed my luggage overnight. After spending so much time with Lu Ruiyan and moving again, I felt a bit dizzy in my mind. When I finished tidying up and scrolling through my phone, I saw the friend circle that Lu Ruiyan had just posted with the picture showing him holding a hand with a syringe inserted and receiving an infusion. It seems that Liang Tingcheng has been rescued. I also attached a paragraph. After going through thousands of twists and turns, it's still you, and I added a love letter at the end. Sincere enough that I almost forgot. A day ago he kept saying he loved me. Can't be separated from me. At this moment the sound of night came from outside the door. Ji Gu, are you asleep? I stewed a bowl of pear soup for you to taste. I quickly got up and tried to open the door for him, but my eyes turned black and I fell to the ground. When I woke up again, everything was white in front of me. I was already in the hospital. I moved my fingers and the night lying beside me also moved, opening my eyes. She just woke up with a hint of confusion. Then it was replaced by a smile. Ji Gu, you scared me to death. I slept for a day and a night, but now that I'm awake I need to take a good look. I smiled and said, it's okay, I've been too tired lately, but my attitude has been very tough every night. I said that I didn't have time to care about my mother's health in the first place, which is why I missed the best treatment opportunity. I was just pulled and had blood drawn, x-rays taken, heart rate and blood pressure checked all over. I went to fetch my report every night feeling suffocated and uncomfortable in the room. I carried a hanging bottle and went out to get some fresh air. When I turned around it was Lu Ruyan and Liang Tingcheng. Lu Ruyan was holding Liang Tingcheng for a walk when she saw me wearing the patient ID and holding the infusion. She immediately let go and ran to my side. Jibo, what's wrong with you? Why is it like this? Liang Tingcheng's face quickly darkened in the distance and I curled the corners of my mouth without answering. I provocatively looked at Liang Tingcheng not far away, who would help me drive away the annoying fly Lu Ruyan. He really didn't disappoint me. With a loud cry he fell straight to the ground. Lu Ruyan quickly went over and hugged him, calling for someone to take him back to the ward. I retrieved the examination report every night and there were no issues with any physical indicators. It's just low blood sugar. I don't know when Lu Ruyan found my ward. She was shocked when she saw Yi Yi but quickly lowered her eyes. She held it out at the door for a long time before coming in holding a piece of paper in her hand as if she had made a great decision. Finally the paper was handed to me. I'm sorry, Uncle Ji. Let's get a divorce. It seems that Liang Tingcheng was just provoked by me and couldn't help it. His divorce agreement is almost a tyrannical clause and the company originally belonged to 40% of my property. Surprisingly only 5% was transferred to me, let alone the house, car, cash and so on. I looked disappointed at Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan, I thought we still had some genuine feelings, but your agreement has disappointed me too much. Have you forgotten that I have evidence of your extramarital affair? You can directly file for divorce, but if you really reach this point you won't even receive half of your assets. Lu Ruyan seemed to have known for a long time that I would say these words with no fluctuation in her expression, just a hint of imperceptible guilt. At this moment Liang Tingcheng also arrived. He was proud and arrogant with a radiant expression. He didn't look like a patient who had just taken sleeping pills. Liang Tingcheng gently hugged Lu Ruyan, interlocking his fingers with him as if he was pronouncing some sentence on me. But no one cares at all. Since Yan Yan's heart is soft, then I have to be the villain. Jibwa, don't forget that the copyright of your heart-lung breathing technology is still with us at Lu's as long as you obediently sign this divorce agreement. I promise not to make things difficult for you regarding copyright. I clenched my fists. They dared to threaten me with this matter. At that time I did my best to bring Lu back to life. As a partner and a senior executive of the company I had the right to own half of the shares. But at that time the company was not stable internally. In order to give Lu Ruyan more credibility and control the Lu family well, I voluntarily gave up my own shares and only took 40% of the company's shares, allowing Lu Ruyan to take the majority and become the real Mr. Lu. I didn't expect that now it was digging a hole for myself, but I don't regret the decision I made back then. I can only blame myself for blindly trusting someone. The cardiorespiratory technique is like my child. Lu Ruyan couldn't have been unaware of it, but she told Liang Tingcheng about it. Is that what you mean? I looked at Lu Ruyan. She dared not look directly at me, gritted her teeth and nodded lightly. Liang Tingcheng is still talking incessantly. Jibo, I believe you don't want your hard work to go to waste, and I also believe that with several abilities it won't be a problem to earn this money again in a short period of time. Why don't we sign this agreement and treat it as a wedding gift from you to me and Yan Yan in advance? His small and successful face looks nauseating. Speak up every night to stop him. The most obedient and timid girl in daily life stood up in front of me and coldly said to Lu Ruyan, Mr. Lu, don't you know? Go this time he was admitted to the hospital due to lung disease and this technology can save his life. Are you going to use this as a bargaining chip to negotiate with him? Night's expression was serious as if it were true. I couldn't help but chuckle and feel desolate using this excuse of being weak. It is impossible to awaken Lu Ruyan's conscience. After listening to Yi Ye's words, Lu Ruyan's expression softened a bit and Liang Tingcheng quickly blew a breeze in his ear. Yan Yan, don't be confused. Even if we hand over the copyright to him, after so many years without any progress, do you think he can do it well in the short term? Taking a step back, even if he wants it, we still give him a chance. So let him exchange it with an agreement. You care about Jibwa, but has he thought about you? For so many years only I understand your inner turmoil and struggles. And you see how quickly he got along with Lu Ye, who can say for sure if they had already been together behind your back. Lu Ruyan was moved by the words and her eyes gradually became cold. Jibwa, if you really need this technology so much you should sign it even more. Night after night your face turned red and you trembled all over because of their words. I gestured to relax every night. Speak in a deep voice. Don't say so much. I am willing to sign. I have no intention of entangling with these two people anymore. Send the gods away early. Liang Tingqing pursued the victory. Yen, we can finally be together. I think Ji Bo agreed to this just to get married to Lu Ye as soon as possible. Yen, only I truly love you. Lu Ruyan ignored him and looked at me incredulously. Jibwa, is what he said true? You and Lu Ye. I stood up and stood in front of Ye. Quickly sign the divorce agreement, throw it in their face and quickly take it away, otherwise I can't guarantee when I will suddenly change my mind. Money? I'm not lacking either. Moreover, these things are just temporarily stored in their hands, so of course I have my own way to retrieve them. During my time in the hospital I contacted doctors and visited some cardiorespiratory wards together. These clinical data gave me a lot of inspiration, and after discharge I immersed myself in research. During this period Lu Ruyan was not doing well. What he said about Liang Tingqing having a lot of investment resources abroad was actually just some friends who enjoyed drinking and eating. The private detective shared with me all of Liang Tingqing's experiences abroad over the years. It turned out that he had abandoned Lu Ruyan without hesitation, and there was another reason. When Liang Tingqing was with Lu Ruyan he had already hooked up with Miss Zhang and used the core information from Lu Ruyan's company for exchange. Establishing a cooperative relationship with Zhang and making a fortune through this, fearing being caught he went abroad to hide for 4 years. This is also the fundamental reason why the Lu family almost went bankrupt in the beginning. Liang Tingqing during his time abroad was completely uneducated and had countless girlfriends. His private life was extremely poor and he even failed to obtain his degree certificate. After spending a lot of money to barely graduate he quickly became idle and accidentally learned about the growing strength of the Lu family, which inspired him to return to his home country. Unfortunately Liang Tingqing miscalculated. Lu's luck is not always as good as mine, and without me things are going downhill. Now that Lu is in his hands it's like a soulless need. Moreover, I secretly pushed Lu's father and mother a few times in the dark. Seeing this scene I couldn't help but want to come out. At first they looked down on me thinking that I had no connections, no background, and could have some small achievements thanks to Lu's support. It was only later that I found out that Lu Ruyan and Liang Tingqing could be together thanks to the matchmaker of the two elders. They always thought that Liang Tingqing, a student who had returned from studying abroad, was exceptionally talented. Excellent, I believed Liang Tingqing's nonsense and then belittled me as worthless. After all, Lu's parents are outdated and can't understand the things in the company at all. However, speaking of which, if they really have any abilities. At that time the Lu family would not have been in a state of near bankruptcy. One unexpected gain was that Yin's branch in the city was originally founded under the name Yin Shuang. I don't know where Liang Tingqing got these messages from, so he began to approach Yin Shuang intentionally or unintentionally. Yin Shuang, who was far away abroad, received an invitation from Liang Tingqing to have dinner together. I was shocked that I didn't send the information I had to Lu Ruyan, but her marriage was also in jeopardy. After I left, her repeated misjudgments emptied the company and turned it into an empty shell. Liang Tingqing blamed all the mistakes on Lu Ruyan and even started hitting him. When I got home I saw a figure outside the door. Lu Ruyan was as thin as a skeleton with injuries on her face. Seeing me come back with Yi, his lips trembled uncontrollably. Jibwa, you guys are together now. I ignored him and pulled Yi to open the door and go home. Lu Ruyan tightly held onto the door frame while Ji Bo watched me live like this now. Are you happy now? She pulled out a smile at the corner of her mouth as abrupt as this unfounded blame, but don't worry, I'm not that easily defeated yet. Liang Tingqing is the person I have wanted to marry since I was 18 years old. He has just gone astray, but I believe he will come to his senses. My marriage, my job, everything will return to normal. Without you it won't have any impact on me at all. Do you remember what I said, Jibwa? You are just a dog I sponsored, I don't want you. I asked Lu Ruyan to wait at the door for a while, then rummaged through boxes and cabinets to help him find the phone number of the mental hospital. Lu Ruyan thought I was giving him my own contact information, so she came over and tore it apart, scattering all over her face. Before leaving she said, who else can take on your ridiculous research project without Lu Shi? To be honest, Yin has set up a branch here. You should prepare for the bankruptcy process earlier. Lu Ruyan seemed to hear a joke. Yin will take care of you, don't expect it. After the official establishment of Yin's branch, it quickly swept through the pharmaceutical market in the city, and Lu Ruyan's company could hardly hold on. She had many old clients who followed me and established cooperation with Insure. I just took back what should have belonged to me and stopped at the right time without causing too much trouble for Lu Shi. The last straw that truly crushed Lu Shi was Liang Pengcheng, who secretly emptied the company's working capital. I lost everything at the casino again, which was exposed by the finance department because I still owe the customer the final payment. Lu Ruyan couldn't hold back any longer and sent Liang Pengcheng to jail. Recently Lu Ruyan intends to have Insure acquire Lu Shi, which can be considered her last hope. But every time she came to the company to submit a letter of intent she was turned away. At a charity dinner hosted by the Yin family, Lu Ruyan sneaked in while I was chatting with my partners about market trends with Yi Yi. A voice came from the host stage. Lu Ruyan stood straight on top holding the microphone. His hands were still trembling slightly as he scanned the crowd below. I didn't know which one was Mr. Yin, so I had to take the liberty of conveying my thoughts to you. Please forgive me. I raised my hand to stop the bodyguard who wanted to stop him on stage, and Lu Ruyan continued her speech. Lu Shi has been in the pharmaceutical industry for decades and has rich experience, making it the most needed partner for your company. Now Lu has encountered some difficulties and hopes that Yin can lend a helping hand and fulfill her social rescue responsibility. I already have good intentions towards the book. Please give me a chance, Mr. Yin, and also give Lu a chance. The whole room was silent. Everyone silently watched Lu Ruyan's clown-like behavior. I had already walked onto the stage while he was speaking. Miss Lu, is this asking for support from the Yin family? Lu Ruyan looked at me in surprise, not quite understanding this moment. Why am I here? Jibwa, you really don't give up thinking that just by appearing here you can make Mr. Yin look at you differently. When you say these words. She was still waving, gesturing for the bodyguards below to take me away. The bodyguard looked at me in confusion and I shook my head at them. The sound was loud over there. Yes. Mr. Yin. Sorry, my original name was Yin Jibwa. I looked down at her from a high position, shaking my glass. Someone once said that sponsored people are like dogs and should obediently wag their tails to please their owners. If I didn't misunderstand your meaning, Miss Lu's speech just now. It should be seeking funding from the Yin family. Miss Lu, why don't you demonstrate how to wag your tail? The people in the audience burst into laughter, a dense chorus of whispers. Lu Ruyan stood motionless in place. Whispering, "It's impossible." He shook his head, stepped back and then ran out as if escaping. Later I heard that Lu Ruyan was inquiring about whether I was the real Mr. Yin in various ways. After receiving a positive answer, he blocked my doorstep every day. First he and later Lu's parents also joined this camp, but they didn't know that I had moved long ago. This was thanks to a major breakthrough in my cardiopulmonary breathing project, where ventilators were quickly launched and swept the market. Yin's stock price hit a new high and I returned a perfect answer sheet to the Yin family with my own abilities. With the prize money from the answer sheet, I was able to move to a villa in the suburbs. As a generous boss, when I bought a villa, I kept the neighboring apartment as a gift for Yi Yi and brought her mother back from the hospital. Lu's mother's health has almost recovered. 1 month later Lu announced bankruptcy. Lu Ruyan couldn't bear the blow and was admitted to a mental hospital, which happened to be the one I recommended to him last time. If he had listened to me earlier, he might not have been so seriously ill and things were going around. Returning to a calm and peaceful state outside the window night after night, he smiled sweetly and waved at me. "Ji go, my mom's stewed lamb soup, I'll keep a bowl for you. Come and have a drink after you finish your work." I look at his smile and all the time is peaceful. At this point the entire article is complete. Don't forget your like, subscriptions and favorites.